Blah, blah, blah. Hello and welcome to Rosberry Crafts, my YouTube channel where I share all my crafty adventures. First off today, I'd like to thank all returning viewers and welcome all our new viewers. My name is Roz and I'm coming to you from Lake Country, BC. It's just outside of Kelowna. It's a beautiful place where I can see one lake from my house, and there are 3 lakes within 10 minutes driving distance. I live with my husband, Mike, and my 2 kids, Cooper, who's almost 11, and Taylor, who is 9. Today, I have a few segments for you. What am I wearing? Whips. And I have a special video of me doing some duplicate stitch. And of course, there's chatter at the end. So let's get started. What am I wearing? Today, I am wearing the Miranda pullover by Josie Paquin. This is made out of an Elan.com 100% Highland Peruvian wool. I made this in 2017, or I started making it in 2017 with the intention to finish it for Knit City, which always happens at the end of September, early October. I did not finish it in time, and I finished it in 2018. So I do wear this sweater a lot in the winter. You can see that it's short sleeved. I only had enough yarn to do the short sleeved one, but I'm okay with that. And I wear it a lot as like an underlayer because it is quite dense and thick. That's a bit of a story. I wouldn't say I felted it, but I washed it a little more aggressively than I probably should have, and it still fits fine. It's nice, a cozy fit. It's a great underlayer piece, but it did kind of dense up the stitches a little bit more. So it is a bit snug, but that's okay. For an underpiece, you want it to be snug, and it keeps me warm while we're up on the ski hill or out quadding, so that is always a good thing. And yeah, but it keeps your arms free to not have too much bulk under your jacket. So I do love this sweater and I wear it fairly often. Unfortunately, because of the slight felting that I did, the cable pattern on it does not show as much as it did in the beginning, but it's still nice. The pattern is actually a really good pattern in that you can make it with a hood or with this kind of neck to the collar. And then it's also got the option to put a kangaroo pocket in, and then there's the sleeves where you can just do the cap sleeve, and she tells you, you know, how you can do it all the way down if you want a full sleeve. And so yeah, there's lots of options in the pattern, and I really enjoyed knitting it. And all of Josie Paquin's patterns that I've made so far have been really clear, so I will definitely be making some of her patterns in the future. And normally this would be the place where I would have finished objects, but I do not have any finished objects today, so we're going to move on to works in progress. So my first work in progress today, there is nothing to show you. Still blank needles. I have one sock finished on my teal socks. The pattern is vanilla reversed, and I still really want these socks. I just don't have the mojo to get started on them again. The yarn is ready to go. I'm at the spot that I need to be at to cast on, and I just need to do it. But I have not, so there is that. We will see. Maybe that will happen in the next couple weeks. Maybe not. Hopefully soon, because I really do want those socks. Next up are my twinkle socks. I did put a few rows in these. I don't think you're gonna see any difference. I'll show them to you anyway. Oh my goodness, that's a mess. So these are my twinkle socks, and I'm just working away at them, and still love the colors. This crazy line is where my afterthought heels will go in. I do like a tall sock. So these have a color work piece right at the top that's a couple inches tall, and then a little bit of ribbing above that. So I am kind of thinking pretty soon I'll be switching over to the color work, which will of course require more concentration than movie watching knitting. So these might take a bit of time for me to find the time to do the color work, but I still do really love the yarn, and I really, really want these socks. So, I mean, there's always room for more socks, right? And the main project that I have been working on the very little time that I have actually spent knitting, is the sweater for Cooper's birthday. He's going to be 11. And as I've said on previous podcasts, when you turn 11 is the year that you get your letter to go to Hogwarts. And we are all very big Harry Potter fans in this house. So I am knitting him a Mrs. Weasley sweater. And it's out of Knit Picks Swish DK. And it is wool acrylic, I think. Anyway, I've gotten the body done. I've showed that before, but I have actually started the duplicate stitch. So this will be the C. And I have a bit of story about the sleeves. So I knit the sleeves, I measured, I made him try one on sneakily just by when he was reading, distracting him and trying it on his arm. It looked okay. Now, when I'm looking at it compared to other sweatshirts and stuff that he wears, and I tried it on my arm, and I think it's too tight. So I ripped them out. But I have a plan. And also the other problem with the sleeves, when I held it up to this armhole opening, it only went to about down here. So only about 2/3 of the way down, and I would have had to, it would have kind of been bunching and gathering this. So my plan is I'm actually going to cast on the sleeves from here, pick up stitches all along the sleeve opening here, and then knit them down. Which means that I'll be doing one at a time, and I'll have to make sure I take notes and know when my decreases are and stuff like that. But I think that will get me a better fitting sleeve, and then you don't have to futz with trying to sew the sleeve into an opening that doesn't necessarily fit on it. And then I'll have to do the collar, and then I'll be finished. So we're close on this. We are 10 days away from his birthday, but I think it can be done. At the end of this video, or close to the end, I'm going to put in the video that I have of me actually doing the duplicate stitch. I'm really enjoying how it's turned out. This is the first time I've done duplicate stitch. I did some on the swatch, which I don't know where it is, just to practice. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm getting in quite a rhythm here, and I have done embroidery and cross stitch stuff before, but this feels similar, but not quite the same. And just, it's all about getting your tension even. And I really like how it's turning out. So that will be done soon. And for the last work in progress, I have a new cast on. And of course, as usual, there's a bit of a story with this one. So one of my friends, I've been helping her with her knitting. She started knitting a while ago, and you know, as you do, help with this, that, and the other thing. She needs to concentrate on it still, so it's not something she gets time to just focus on very often. But she was knitting a hat for her husband, and it was just not turning out right how she wanted it. And it was not, it was just frustrating her. And her husband, every time he saw it, he's like, oh, aren't you finished my hat yet? And he really wanted to wear it, so which is understandable. So I said, well, just give me the yarn and in the project and everything, and I will deal with it and knit him a hat. So this is what I have so far. So unfortunately, she didn't have the ball band for the yarn, so I don't know what it is. But it is a DK, maybe like a Plump Sport DK kind of weight. Yeah, it's these cool marled brown colors, and I think it's coming out really nice. I'm using the Classic Rib Beanie by Pearl Soho, which is a free pattern on their website. And basically you knit 1 by 1 rib for a certain amount of time, and then you do some decreasing, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a hat. So this one will have a nice cuff, so you can fold that'll fold up. Or not if you want it slouchy. So yeah, I'm pretty close to the spot where we'll start the decreases, so maybe I'll even have that finished this weekend. Maybe I'll have an FO next podcast. And that is it for my works in progress. Okay, so here is a little video of the duplicate stitch I'll be doing on Cooper's sweater. So I started by counting my chart, and I can't show you the chart because it's part of a paid pattern, but I did count out the chart, how many stitches high and wide it is, and that's what all of these yellow stitch markers are. I tend to choose, I'll show you my, I think I would have already showed you them, but this is some stitch markers I just got, and they have a variety of colors, so you can pick a nice contrast color so you can really see where the layout is. And then this one I did halfway down. So I'm going to start on this side and move this way, and I'm going to start from the bottom and move up. So I have my contrast yarn, and I probably will need more than this, but if you do too long of a piece of yarn to do the duplicate stitch, you end up just pulling and pulling and pulling, and it gets tangled. And so it's better to start with a smaller piece and just know that you're going to have more ends to weave in the back. If you find that you need like 20 pieces of yarn, you may want to consider knitting it in a different way, or if you think the pattern is that intricate, you know, you could use either a Fair Isle or an Interstar technique to do this. So the best thing to do is to, so first I'm going to count down 2, 3, 4. So I've got to do 4 below the one I have marked is where I need to start. So you want to start, of course, on the back side of the work. And I'm going to do it underneath. I'll show you a few, and then I'm going to speed it up, and I'll show you the whole thing. So that's that one. So we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first stitch, and I watched a tutorial from Very Pink Knits, and I will link to that in the show notes down below. So you want to start at the bottom of the V, and you want to pull it through. And again, you want to leave a tail that you can weave in. So, you know, a 4 to 6 inch tail there. So you can see that's at the very bottom of this V here. And then what you want to do is on the stitch above, you want to go underneath both the legs of that stitch. So underneath the complete V of the stitch above, and then you're going to go back in to that same spot at the bottom of the V. And you want to be careful that you don't go too far down, because then it makes kind of a crooked V, if you will. And then it's very important, especially with the first few stitches, to check your tension, because you don't want, if I pulled this really tight, now all of a sudden this side is poofy and this side is tighter. And you can also, if you don't tighten it enough, then you'll have, you know, kind of loops hanging out on the front. So you really want to make sure that you pull it so it seems flat with what you're doing. All right, so then we start again. Right at the bottom of the V. Excuse me, sorry about that. Under both legs of the stitch above, and then back in. And sometimes you have to wiggle it a little bit just to get it in the right spot. Now, when I'm working on the front of the work here, I tend to, when I go through that bottom spot again, I'll go to where the next stitch is going to go, so I don't have to reach my hand underneath, but that comes with practice. To begin with, you'll definitely want to do it in 2 separate stages. Okay, and again, and you kind of have to use your darning needle and kind of put the stitches into the right spot, because basically what you're doing is you're creating another knit stitch over top of the other one, and yarn is round, so you're trying to create something that's round on top of round, so you really have to, it can easily slip to the sides, so it's really, you have to make sure it's right on top of the other one. And it takes practice to do it. All right, so we got, that's 3. See, and sometimes the stitch doesn't look quite right, so you got to go back. Make sure you get it in the right spot. Similar with embroidery, you want to make sure that, you know, if as you're doing the stitches, if they don't look quite right, that you go back and do them again right when you're doing it. Because if you're not happy with it now, you're not going to be happy with it 20 years from now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me. So now what I'm going to do is actually just go back through, because I'm going to go on to the next row over. Again, for those of you that don't know, or just watching this little section and haven't seen my podcast, this is the Mrs. Weasley sweater from the official knitting Harry Potter knitting book. And this will be a C for my son Cooper, and his birthday is in a few days. So really need to get this done, but it will be a C, which is very exciting. So there we are with the first kind of line of stitches. And now what I'm going to do is the next set is 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So I'm going to count 4 down and then move over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then move over. And what I'm going to do, it's hard to show this on camera, is I place my thumbnail, 1, 2, 3, 4, so this one here. So I'm placing my thumbnail right at the base there, and then I have my forefinger on the other side of the fabric. And then when I go in underneath, because I can't really see underneath, I just put my needle up into my thumbnail, and then I am in the right spot. So here we are. Whoop. So again, with moving down from here to here, you want to make sure that you've pulled the yarn snug, but not too tight. so that your tension is even with the knit fabric. And you also want to make sure that you don't tie knots in your yarn. So make sure they get separated out there. Having a half hitch on the front of your sweater is probably not what you're looking for. And now we've come to the chatter portion of this video. So I'm just going to talk about a few things going on in my life and around here. If you're not interested, we will see you next time. Otherwise, stick around. I failed to talk about the weather at the beginning of this episode, so I might as well talk about it now. Spring is just around the corner here. They put down gravel, etc., sand on the road to help deal with the ice and snow, and they have sent out the street cleaners to clean all of that up. And so it is almost bike riding and roller skating time, and I am so excited. Spring break for the kids. They don't have school for the next 2 weeks, so I don't know how much knitting content there will be over the next 2 weeks. There's also a birthday in there, and I'm making cupcakes and lots of other things going on. If I remember, I will try and video some of those other things that are going on in our lives and some of the outside time that we get. And that will all be fun things. But spring is here and it's nice. We've also been sitting out on our front deck. So our front deck faces the lake in the valley, and we get the evening sun, late afternoon and evening sun on the deck, and it's been chilly, a couple blankets worth, but we've been sitting out there enjoying a beverage at the end of the day, and it's been really nice. So that quadding season, ATVing season is just around the corner, and we're all feeling it. And that's really all I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.